Alright, yeah. Welcome back to more adventures. Just behold, Tower of German Power. Now, first and foremost, I want to say that this engine has experienced a catastrophic failure by way of camshaft. I'm not sure about you, but the sheared cam towers in this 300D are cause for concern. So we're going to rip the cylinder head off and see if it did any bottom end damage, but I suspicion that's just going to need a whole new motor. And in that case, I think that we are going to put a turbo diesel in this, because the non-turbos are kind of meh on my end. Do is take these 10mm nuts loose, holding this air cleaner assembly onto the intake manifold. Yeah, it's just 3 little nuts like this. I'm pretty sure those mount to the intake manifold or some shit like that, so we'll get them pulled off. We also want to pull this off at some junction. I assume these little 8mm bolts, or that works too. Perfect. Next thing on the list, you're going to take the 4 nuts holding this valve cover, right? There'll be a nut there, and there'll be ones along the side, one finally right there. Take those off, and you should be able to, after you pull this PCV vent off, and these 2 bolts holding your, oh, where is it at? Oh, it's right here. Holding your throttle assembly on there off. Should be able to pull the cover off. Back when I picked up this car 2 days ago, sitting on the side of the road, I could just take that 24mm cam bolt off of the front of the camshaft, and as you can see, the cam just slid right off. I can't see anything immediately apparent along this valve train that would indicate any bent valves or anything else, but all of these tappets, the rocker arms and tappets were flipped up, so they were in this position when I looked under the valve cover. And as you can see here, the bases of those cam towers, it's not great. I'm really hoping that the bottom end's fine, because I just want to put a set of valves in this. I don't want to mess around with anything more. Oh, and don't forget your valve cover gasket. The next thing that I did was took a 17mm wrench and loosened all these nuts down there and on the injector lines. And that allows you to move these injector lines off their injectors, so you can separate the cylinder head from the injection pump. And put them in the trunk. Next thing you're going to want to do is disconnect this injector return line. With that disconnected and your fuel injectors, I think that should be about it. I suppose whenever we take this out, I could also take all of these injectors out of their holes, but I think I'd like to do a compression test on it too, so I'll come to that bridge I'll cross that bridge when I come to it. But next I'm going to use an 8mm wrench to get this nut off back here. Now you'll notice this was originally a loop style glow plug engine, but the guy thankfully did a pencil style conversion on it, which is really handy. Honestly, the setup with the small relay is pretty nice. And you can just have them all in line instead of having that big black box. Oh yeah, and disconnect these 2 connectors. Be especially careful with this guy, because that little tank can break off. This one, you just don't pull the wiring apart. It just pops right off. But this guy, don't break that tank. Do be aware that this, I think this is a return hose from the water pump. Anyhow, do be aware that there's coolant in this hose, and likely in this one too. This car just didn't have any up to here, but there's still about a cup of coolant in here, so don't spill that all over the ground. I gotta go get a catch pan at O'Reilly anyhow and deal with this. But the next thing that I'm gonna go ahead and do is these 2 bolts. Whoa, where's my camera? There it is. Holding this filter housing on. You want to do that, and then should be fine. Alright, so yeah, the power steering pump's off. There's those 2 bolts that have a bracket that holds the 2 vacuum lines on right here. There's a bolt that goes into the cylinder head. Or maybe that's the block. Yeah, that goes in the block. Anyhow, that's a medium length bolt. And then there's the 2 long bolts that go right underneath of the front here that attach in right down here. You want to take those off, and you want to loosen the 3 bolts, or the 3 nuts holding the bolts on. So there's one directly below it, and that allows it to slide. And then this is your tensioner. Release tension on this, and then the bolt going through the back right here, all the way through to right here where my finger's at. You loosen that one, and it'll let the pressure off the belt. I took the belt and put it in the trunk. Next thing I really want to do is take this fan off. So I've got a 10mm socket, and if you're lucky, like I was with this bolt, you can get them loose. Most of the time you gotta have something to hold it with. And then I'll be able to pull this off. It's just 2 clips that hold it into place. One right here, and matching one on the adjacent side. And then pull the fan off and pull these both out. With that pain in the ass fucking fan out of the way, you can inspect the back of the radiator and make sure that nothing's fucked up back here. And then you can also try to locate a drain cock. I don't know if there's going to be one, but a man can dream. Otherwise, we're just going to have to pull that little radiator hose and get it everywhere. Thanks, at Mercedes-Benz. A 19mm wrench, loosen this bolt, and that'll allow this tensioner idler pulley to come off, and then you can pull your air conditioning belt. And then the alternator is going to be a major pain in the ass. But it's tightening bolts right there. You can see. It's going to be more of a pain in the ass to get back in, I think. Gents, you're going to want to disconnect the cooler, or the radiator hose coming from here. Whoa there, phone. Whoa, that's an AC compressor. Coming from here. The outlet of the thermostat down to the bottom of your radiator. It's a cross flow top type design with your exit over here, and that goes back here. That's your return. Yeah, you want to undo this plug so that way you can get this off. Where's my flathead? There it is. You want to undo this plug, and I'm not entirely sure how to drain the coolant out of the cylinder head, but we'll come to that bridge in a minute. I don't know. I'll work on getting this housing off this AC compressor and pull these manifolds, and that'll make things easier. Right, you couldn't. Note how this comes off of the thermostat housing. I don't know what that bolt is. It's probably an air purge, since it's one of the highest spots in your cooling system. Mercedes-Benz, ja, das gefällt mir so gut. Yeah, a Waller thermostat. Macht in Deutschland. Oh yeah, here's another thing to note. These old OM616s and 617s, maybe it was just a 617, it's a 5 cylinders, but there's multiple places that they could have been manufactured, and this one happened to be the York plant. There's another plant in New York State, and there's a couple in Germany. So if you ever go to get specifications there, well, yeah, it's just York or Borg Warner somewhere else, I don't know. So I'm gonna pull that thermostat out. Well, ladies and gentlemen, as you can see here, there's a Mercedes-Benz alternator, and it sits in the engine something about like that. If this is the top of the engine, that's towards the bottom, and this is the front. You're looking at the front, right? Now, see, normally this little tooth thing, you'd loosen this, or these 2 nuts. Well, you'd hold the nuts on the back, and you'd loosen the bolts just slightly. And then you'd walk this along to adjust the tension of the belt. Some dumb motherfucker rounded this off before I got to it, so now it looks like I'm gonna have to try to source a new one or grind it down to 16 mil. I don't know. It's gonna suck dick. That was all my complaint was, really. Just take your fucking time when you're doing this sort of stuff, right? You need to round shit off. Right, now the next bit of German engineering is they decided that this giant fucking air conditioning bracket has to be taken off in order to take cylinder head off, and they mounted it to both the head and the block. I really don't know why. This thing's a giant chunk of cast iron. I'm sure they did it for some reason, but anyways, take your 4 nuts back out, and then note the orientation of your pulley as you pull it off. I don't know if it's keyed to a little idler thing there. I wouldn't assume so, but There it is. It goes on the engine that way. And then check it to make sure it's not fucked. Three little bolts back in. Little bolts. Little bolt. Little bolt. Oof. Robert's your father's brother. Alright, people, I ain't filmed in a minute because I'm pretty high. There's a little tang that's going to be on the top of the alternator. What's going to hold this plug in. And that holds it in the back of the alternator. And then down here while you're at it, these two nuts, if you're taking the AC bracket, have to come off. I haven't loosened this one. They're so coated in oil, though, they're just popping right off, which is super nice. And just catch them and feel for any washers. I don't think there are any. Here's the setup ratchet, tiny extension, and 17mm shallow socket. Then look under here for any other bolts connecting it. I don't think I see any though. The next one's going to be that one right in front of my finger, but I can get all the rest from the front and top. I hope, really hope. Alright, well, I'm gonna get the other one off, take that extension out. The other thing you're gonna want to do is there's a 10mm bolt. Shit. No, I'm just stupid. Okay, it's this 10mm bolt right here, with a little nut on the underside. That guy actually came out of this hole, and it secures your transmission fill tube on there. I took that off, and then I took the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 17mm nuts off of the intake and exhaust manifolds, and these ones were again coated in oil. I let them soak overnight in some WD-40, but they didn't need it. They were pretty loose. Get creative. I used a wrench and a ratchet and some extensions and a wobble and a 17, so anything and everything. Do what you gotta do. I mean, at this point, I really don't care about getting stuff down my intake as long as it's not water, because the head's coming off. What else? No, this will just pull away. Yep, this nut also secures the AC bracket in, and that would be a good time to take a flashlight, take a look around this back side. I think there's only the one more nut on this back side, and then onto the front side there's going to be another 5 bolts. And this, ladies and gentlemen, 19, 17, 13, 13. And then you got to take this stupid fucking vacuum climate control module out because these assholes don't give you enough room to work. Now when it comes time to removing these little bolts, right, secure the who's and watch it to the thingamajigger, you're going to wonder why they're the 10mm slipping on it and the 9mm won't fit. Like, what the hell, Mercedes? Come to realize these were made by the Chrysler Corporation, these vacuum climate control modulators. So it only makes sense they're 3/8. Fuck you, Chrysler. Ladies and gentlemen, I am a lying sack of shit. You see those 3 bolt holes? They have 3 10mm bolts in them. One here, and one up there. You take those out and you can move this stupid thing back. Although it does help to be able to take the bracket all the way out. So, I don't know. Anyways, here are the 3 little bolts. They're actually 10mm. Maybe Chrysler was thinking. I don't know. Oh yeah, this is going to be rusted together. The whatever this is, and then this thing. Like an accumulator or motor of some kind, and then this. Get all corroded together. And then you should be able to pull your manifolds off with a little bit of persuasion. At least your intake. The exhaust will have to disconnect down below. Alright, ladies. You're going to need to remove battery tray so you can have enough room to get this over. Or at least I did, because I need to clean this out. If you really don't want to, I guess you could get that manifold out, but whatever. Anyways, I undid these 2 bolts, 2 10mm, and then there's another one that goes here, allegedly, but it left the chat. Half of it's still in there, so I guess half of it left the chat. Still annoying. And once you've got the slack in this, you can kind of push it down to get that intake off. It's kind of a pain, but I guess with it exposed now, I can maybe get a hold on these nuts holding the exhaust together. I'm not confident they're going to come apart without a fight, but a man can dream. Wish me luck. Alright, I got a whole load of extensions to get this first bolt out. It's a 12mm. I'm using a D-pill just because that's what I have, and it's a 6-point socket. It's kind of the main thing. Here's to hoping it doesn't round off that nut. Alright, I don't know where we were the last time, but there's going to be 2 bolts on the back of the bottom thermostat housing. Those 2 holes, I think they're 13 millimeters, 12 or 13, and you're going to undo that hose clamp, and a whole bunch of coolant's going to piss out, so have your drain bucket ready. Oh yeah, there was one more bolt to take that exhaust manifold off, and then I rounded off the nuts down there, so I'll just have to take the whole exhaust out of this stupid thing. Whatever, at some point to fix that. And then, you know, I bet you I can just slide this head off. Pull it up, slide it, pull it, slide it, have somebody pry on this manifold and I'll be able to get it off. Deal with that later. And then I'm also going to disconnect this hose down below so the cylinder head can fully drain because it's still going to have coolant in it, unfortunately. There's no great way around this. God damn, this thing's cold. I'm going to set it down. Oh yeah, you haven't gotten to see the parts accoutrement yet, have you? Well, I'm not going to be putting the AC compressor back in this, so that'll go bye-bye sooner or later. And I think in order to get this cam gear out, you're gonna have to let at least some of this tension off this fucking tensioner right down in there. So take the other bolts out and just let this fucker out a little bit. Keep it from getting so excited, and then yeah, pull this gear and then I'll be able to pull the head. Oh, I gotta pull this ground strap too. Or maybe that's an oil line. I can't tell. It's one or the other. Hopefully too much coolant doesn't come pissing out of here, but I have a feeling since the vehicle's canted this way, it's sitting on an incline, that, yeah. It's gonna piss a little bit when I take it off. It's just the way she goes. Nothing you can do about it. Well, I guess I could take that water pump housing off, but that's a whole nother can of worms I'm not prepared to open. Alright, so there's 2 bolts, one down here where my finger is and then one up here. They're both 13s. You pull those out along with the 17mm exhaust manifold nut, and that's your tensioner. Sits in the engine like that. Go ahead and plop her in the trunk. God, the sun went away and it's fucking chilly out here. Whew. Gentlemen, this is how the cam sprocket comes out of the engine. This side goes that way and this side sticks out. The keyway will line up with the spot on the camshaft. Now this is where you want to be extra careful. See, this timing chain doesn't drop down into your engine if you're only pulling the cylinder head and you're not trying to pull the whatchamacallit thingamadoodle. I don't know how I'm going to get that little plastic guy off of there. Huh, I'll be dipped. Anyways, I'm going to try to pull the cylinder head and get the head bolts off, and then we'll see where we get. Anyhow, wish me luck. Alright, Kangs and Quangs, so the next thing you're going to do is take your Phillips number 3? I think it's a number 3 Phillips. And you're going to take this clamp off, and you're going to pull this coolant, probably an outlet hose. Yeah, because there's these 3 hoses run over to that vacuum control unit on the other side. Right down there. Anyways, it's neither here nor there. You just need to disconnect this coolant hose. And then just loll at how shitty this fucking shape this engine's in. This thing's been beat to hell and back. Oh yeah, and I disconnected this guy and I loosened this bolt ever so slightly. Speaking of which, where is that little fucker? There it is. Weird looking little fuck. Oh, that doesn't go there. Yeah, there we go. That one goes there. I'm not high enough right now. I need to get a little higher. This is not okay. It's too cold for this shit. Well there, ladies and gentlemen, if you happen to have the older style loop glow plug cars, then there's a hole down there on the driver's side of the engine front, and there's a 6mm Allen key that fits right in that, and this really sucked. I thought I was going to break it, but it didn't. The bolt broke loose, but they're really fucking tight. Take that off, and then these weird, I don't even know what kind of head bolts these are. We had them. I know VW Audi uses them too. Go figure, Mercedes to use some retarded fucking bolt like this. And to use their cam tower bolts as head bolts. Not like you're going to be pulling the cam, though, without... You're pulling the head without pulling the cam. So, I guess realistically, whatever, but... No, that's a pretty common thing. It's almost Cummins are, I think. Anyways, now I'm just blowing smoke. Oh, I'm going to have to go to the store and buy one, though. Started back up. The 8mm Allen head to undo these bolts on top of these cam towers. And then they should just pull up and out of their places. Yep, so there's this one. I'll go pop the trunk. It's only like 5:30 and the sun's already set. Goddamn daylight savings time. Better question is, do I have a spot to put it? I think the answer is no. This thing smells like a coffee farm. It's the damnedest thing. It doesn't smell like coffee either. It just smells like a coffee farm. I undid these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Tried to take it off even, and then I'm gonna give these bridges a tap. Make sure that it oh, there we go. There it is. That beauty. Hey baby. It's with your cock sight and your 12.12 triple square socket. Fucking things was $56 or $60 or some shit for 9 of these. Better be made out of gold. Anyways, yeah, loosen your head bolts in some sort of pattern, and then just take them out. I just did like crisscross from the outside in, kind of spiraled in. Figure that's about the best way to let all the torque off this long ass head. Bye. All right. Let me just tell you, right, you get the cylinder head where you're thinking you can get it off, right? And then all of a sudden you come over and you start prying on it, nothing's happening. You can see Coolant weeping from around the block, but nothing. What do you do, Cletus? There's little bitch bolts right here, 6mm hex. You know what, Mercedes? You're evil and cruel. Ladies and gentlemen, the final. The timing chain guide pin has to be pressed out of the engine. You use a bolt and a set of washers and you push against the cylinder head right there. You tighten it and it'll drive this pin out. Yeah, it's a bitch. Trunk time. Also, don't let this thing fall down on the engine. We're puppers. Oh. Dog monsters.
Oh, there's so many.
Oh, there's 3 monsters. Alright. This end went down like this. And it attached kind of somewhere over here. Probably right there. Onto that ball. For the automatic transmission shifting. I think. Alright, and the other thing. These nuts strip because they're pieces of shit. So I double nutted this and I'm taking the stud out so we can actually get this fucking cylinder head off. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to conclude the programming for right now. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is the internals, or the top end of the bottom end of an OM 617.912 non-turbo inline 5-cylinder Mercedes-Benz engine. And ladies and gentlemen, the prognosis isn't terrible, but it's not great. I do think the pistons hit the valves, however, it was so instantaneous, I think the bottom end is going to be fine. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get a chunk of flat stock and a dial indicator, and I'm going to rotate them each around and see if any of the pistons are bent. None of the tops of them look bad. In fact, I think if I just put it together with some new valves in it and a new camshaft, it's going to be fine. But that's not really the point. I need to measure and I need to make sure, do a bit of cover my ass. You know. Yos Quan!
I got you a present, buddy.
Uh-oh. What'd the thug man get today? Oh, Jesus Christ. Ladies and gentlemen, this is going in the dashboard. Or these hand warmers. Oh, no shit.
doesn't care if they get dirty.
Well, this one will be black.
Yes.
It will have changed races by the time it's done.
Pink to black.
Little Japanese girl to big black cock.